So the January 6th Raw Netflix premiere is finally over and done with, and overall it seems to have been a success. It's #1 most watched on Netflix at the moment, pushing down Squid Game Season 2. They were hyping up this move to Netflix for a long time, so seeing it work out, I'm happy for them. Okay, now that I got that out of the way, 4 matches in 3 hours is crazy. I don't usually do Raw reviews, but today I'm going to make an exception, because this was being built up for a long time to be the biggest Raw of all time. But after seeing split reviews online, there's a new narrative going on, pointing out the fact that this episode of Raw was not for us, but rather it was to attract new viewers and show them what we're about. And I agree that that's the angle that they should have taken. So I went into the show understanding the assignment. And I still couldn't help but notice that there were so many, I won't say so many, but decisions were made that were questionable. So we're going to get into it, because coming off of this show, I realized there's a much bigger conversation to have that I don't think has been had in the whole IWC, at least not from what I've seen. How do you attract and retain a new audience? I don't think this show did the best it could at doing that. But first, let's talk a little bit about the show itself. So Raw's premiere on Netflix. The show had a grand opening feel to it, as far as production and stuff like that, which that shouldn't be surprising, but I was liking the circular Tron at the top there. But then, of course, as I was saying, I look up at the graphic and I'm seeing only 4 matches. I'm like, there's no way, there's only 4 matches tonight. That's gotta be a mistake. But they started off with like a kind of history of wrestling documentary type piece, which I thought that was good. But you gotta remember, I'm also watching this under the idea of what would somebody who's new to wrestling think of this. Because you gotta understand, like, I'm not sure how bad it is now or if it's better or worse than like when I was coming up, but wrestling still has a pretty bad stigma against it. So for all these new eyes on Netflix that may not even be starting from a neutral standpoint, they're probably watching this just to like laugh at it for a minute before they drop off or whatever. So obviously you're probably not trying to convert those type of people, but for anybody that might be neutral, you want to at least impress them, which is why I was surprised with some of the structure of this show, because it wasn't until 32 minutes that the actual first match started. So documentary aside, right after that and Triple H saying his piece, The Rock comes out to speak more about the current situation of Netflix and how big of a moment this is all over again. Like the whole first 32 minutes basically felt like attending some kind of weird wrestling church service. Like, yeah, I'd like to thank Netflix God and Cody Rhodes and for carrying the company for the last, like, or whatever it was. Aside from the documentary piece, new viewers, I don't think they care too much about Raw being on Netflix. That's all I'm trying to get at here. So anyways, the first match of the card was Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa for the Ula Fala Tribal Combat. Bell rings and they lock up. Test of strength, pushing each other back and forth to the ropes. It's looking competitive as far as who's stronger or not. This goes on for about like 15 seconds or something. I didn't really count, but this is how the match opens until eventually Solo is thrown out of the ring. Basically what I'm getting at is this is the first action we're seeing, and the match is opening very slow. And again, we know what this is about. We're used to this. New eyes do not have the privilege of being able to say like, oh, it's gonna pick up later. All they're seeing is a bunch of nothing. Like the first wrestling move didn't come for like at least like 3 minutes, I think it was, when Solo Sikoa did a spinning solo onto the table. I think that was the first wrestling. I'm going off of memory. And the reason why I bring up this point is because, in my opinion, this is my opinion now, but I don't think WWE does good brawls, which is why I don't like a lot of their gimmick matches. As soon as there's too much in the way of 2 people just having a regular match, it low-key becomes harder to achieve a 5-star match, in my opinion. But I guess it depends on the type of gimmick match we're talking about. So to fast forward my point, I don't think the first hype moment really happened for the new viewer, if I had to guess, until Jacob Fatu came in and did his thing. Because then 2 things are happening there. You got the interference, so they're probably like, what's happening here? So now they're paying more attention, I guess, to try and figure that out. And then suddenly Jacob Fatu, after attacking Roman, goes up and does his moonsault, which they probably didn't expect a guy like him to do. So maybe they're hype off that. Now to piggyback off that point for a moment, everybody's going to be different here, depending on the age group of who it is that you might be trying to get into wrestling, for this example. But for me, when I was coming up, what attracted me, first of all, it was the video games. I started off on SmackDown 1 and 2. And then later on, I got my friend into it through Day of Reckoning 2. So we both got into it from the video games. Me, myself, I liked fighting games, so wrestling was kind of close to fighting games anyway, but a little bit different. But basically, I saw stuff like the head scissors takedown, Hurricane Rondas and stuff like that, and some of the high flying stuff. And to me, that flashy stuff looked cool. That's what caught my eye. So when it comes to the actual in-ring, not saying, because nowadays people will just call that flippy floppy, flippy dippy, whatever the hell, right? But I guess again, that comes with the age demographic that you might be introducing. But this could go for like some big power moves too. But basically what I'm getting at is showing somebody some cool wrestling moves could be enough. Who would have thought? So yeah, I saw some of these flashy moves, and then my friend told me that these are like these characters that we're playing are real people. because I didn't even believe that this was like possible to do like in real life, some of these moves. And he's like, yeah, this is a real person. This guy exists. He's gonna be on like SmackDown tomorrow. Come over to my house and we can watch it together. And for me, this was my introduction to the Attitude Era. But anyways, that point aside, so back to the match. So Jacob Fatu comes out, does his little piece, probably has the best offense in the whole match just based off of that. And the rest of the match picks up a little bit with like the plot points of the other interferences, like Kevin Owens showing up and stuff like that. So it's becoming chaos in terms of storytelling, I guess. Referee gets thumbed, which is probably like maybe a shocking moment for a new spectator. Then the match continues, and then eventually Roman wins. First match down. I feel like as the show went on, it became more evident that they were just relying on influence more than anything to attract new viewers. So they were relying on the influence of like when they pan to the crowd and they show you like all the celebrities, like I don't know, I guess they're hoping that the new viewer sees like, oh my god, Vanessa Hudgens is a fan of wrestling? Oh, it must be cool then. I gotta watch wrestling from now on. And shit like that, or whoever other celebrities that they were showing. The bandwagon strategy, I guess. Cena came out next and basically set the landscape for what's to come for him. So basically he's gonna attend the Rumble and then we're gonna see how it goes from there. But then we get on to the second match. Liv Morgan versus Rhea Ripley. And contrary to where most fans might put this, in terms of interest levels, for the new spectator, there might be a spike in interest here. Because say what you want, but a new viewer seeing Liv Morgan for the first time, he might be staring at that for a minute. Because even if this isn't the ideal tactic, as in advertising the women as just fresh meat, I'm pretty sure a lot of us have been in this situation where you're talking about wrestling with somebody, and then some random non-fan in passing overhears you, comes over laughing, then pulls out his script, ready to read his preset dialogue, because apparently they all have the same speech, word for word, as they say, "You like to watch two sweaty men rolling around together on the ground?" It's like, motherfucker, you just explained jujitsu better than like any of us. I don't know what the fuck. So all I'm saying is not that you want to attract this type of person, but there's definitely more people with that opinion, but maybe not as extreme. So in some situations, you might be better off showing someone a good women's match for an introduction. Because apparently, we're all gay. He might be more interested in this match, low-key, over Tribal Combat. And it's actually for a belt, something that they're familiar with, rather than a red necklace. So Liv Morgan does her entrance. She's got bodyguard Raquel and sunglasses beside her. Then she jumps on Dominic, wraps her legs around him, and does the nose thing. But I will say this, storyline-wise, promo package-wise, this storyline will be more interesting than the Ula Fala stuff. Conceptually, it's going to make more sense to them, and again, the belt is on the line. So that's a good start. And in the ring, from my perspective, I thought this was a pretty good match. And it's a better representation of what wrestling actually is, or is going to be most of the time. But yeah, before the match starts, we come back from a commercial break. We got more celebrity cameos happening. We got like Topanga's, I think it was Macaulay Culkin and stuff like this. A lot of people showed up. And of course, they wanted to nail that home to the audience. So yeah, then Rhea's music hits. She comes out. And again, if you're a new viewer, this is probably your first time seeing a Rhea Ripley, who looks pretty badass and more intimidating than the last girl we just saw. So yeah, anyways, Rhea wins. She's the new champion. She got back the title that she never lost, and I'm assuming the Liv Morgan Revenge Tour is over. She's walking back up the ramp with the title. Then The Undertaker's music hits. American Badass. Most new people probably wouldn't know who this is. So to them, a guy just came out on a bike, congratulated her basically, and they raised their fists together, and then he left. And that was all that happened as far as Undertaker's involvement in the show. And between that and the next match, you get a few like backstage segments of like some of the superstars partying, having a good time. And then you get a little segment with American Made. And then we get ready for the next match. Well, first of all, Travis Scott comes out. And then he's smoking in the arena. I didn't even know you can do that. And then Jey Uso's music hits. Him and Travis are buddies. Apparently they're both doing the Yeet dance, which are probably more hype for Travis Scott, but you can see that this Jey Uso guy is apparently a big deal. So yeah, Jey does his entrance with Travis. You got some drone shots going on. Like the environment was 10 out of 10. This venue was so nice. Then Drew McIntyre comes out. They have their match. Jey wins with some Kachi slippin' type shit pin off of a Miss Claymore. And then that was that. Like, I don't want to speak for the new people because we'll never know unless you like directly know somebody in this situation. I'm interested to know what match they were most invested in. So yeah, we got commercial breaks, more cameos. Hogan comes out, gets booed. Should we talk about this? I don't think we ever spoke about this. So me, as a black, my opinion of Hogan is I don't really think of him. I know everything he did as far as the controversy and his like racist comments that were just caught on tape. How was he caught on tape? I forgot how the fuck. A dude went on some kind of like racist rant. His daughter brought home some black guy or some shit. I guess his daughter somehow didn't know dude was racist. Because I think she tried to defend him later when all the backlash was happening, if I'm remembering correct. But yeah, as far as that whole thing, like I don't really care too much in the sense that like I wasn't really a fan of Hogan to begin with. So me learning about this, it's not like it broke my heart or some shit. I was just like, oh, word. I do find it interesting though. The people that are confused why he's getting booed, some people are speculating that it's to do with like politics. Because I think he's like a Trump supporter or something like that. I'm like, even if that's some of it, that's not what the bulk of this noise is. If Vince McMahon came back, I'm interested to hear what his reaction would be. Same thing with Brock Lesnar, low key. Because people like this call us like internet fans or whatever, as if the people in the audience don't have the fucking internet. It's like they're in the know of some shit too, which is why Hogan's getting booed and shit like this. But anyways, moving on. So we get a little ad promo advertising on Raw next week is going to be the Women's Intercontinental Championship Tournament Finals. So Dakota versus Lyra. The argument, I guess, is that they didn't want to do it on this show because I guess they didn't think it was going to be hype enough to be able to hang with the other matches on. Not like the other matches were fucking amazing tonight anyway. I guess the fear is that the crowd isn't going to be as hype and that's going to rub off on the new viewer. Because again, they seem to be leaning on the bandwagon strategy huge. And we keep showing you everybody who's here. Then we could just quickly slither by with these 4 matches and then run away until next week. Stephanie McMahon was in the audience, smiling hard as hell. Then we go into our main event, Seth Rollins versus CM Punk. Seth Rollins comes out in his, let's call it an outfit. They bring out the, what was it, the loud meter or whatever the shit. Not gonna lie, I had my audio muted during this whole entrance, but CM Punk comes out. Now, before the match even starts, I'm not expecting too much from this match. My only critique is that very quickly after this match started, it became very evident that this beef, quote, or blood feud, wasn't blurring the lines too much anymore. The lines became unblurred, we'll say. Like, I'm pretty sure there's no actual, like, real hate, which not that there needed to be. It's just that the way how the match opened, it's like they only cared about it looking like that level of hate for the first like 20 seconds or something before like one of the next sequences started looking a bit too cooperative in my opinion. Because basically the bell rings and then they just kind of rush to the middle of the ring and start trading punches simultaneously. Before not even a few seconds in, it becomes one-sided. CM Punk's the only one throwing one-sided punches. That's just kind of taking every hit. Like they should have went into like some more like shoot wrestling type shit first, or make it look a little bit more of a better scuffle. Like this is nitpicking obviously, but this kind of thing looks stupid to new viewers. As soon as you leave room for people to say, oh, why didn't he just do this? Why didn't he dodge? Shit like that. Then as they're like trading and shit, they did this weird thing where Seth counters, has Punk on the ropes, and then he starts doing like a weird clothesline combo with like 200 frames of recovery between, but he's still sitting there waiting for the next one to hit him. But yeah, the match wasn't bad per se. It's just that I felt like they could have done a better job at trying to make this look like a more legitimate hate beef. I'm sure they're going to go at it again or do a best of 3. But I did predict CM Punk would win this one. But yeah, the match itself, it was like pretty good considering. Like to WWE standards, it was good. Like theoretically speaking, I guess it would make more sense for an actual championship to be on the line for the main event. So that would mean that the women would have the main event. But you knew they weren't going to do that. So between this and Tribal Combat, I'm not mad at this main eventing. So yeah, that was Raw January 6th Netflix. Pretty split on the reviews on how it was received within the normal fan base. But the real question is, how was it received amongst the first timers? But yeah, again, if I was to try and get somebody into wrestling today, depending on who it is, I would either do the video game method again, or I just show them not so much a full show, but maybe some good matches, whether it's YouTube or wherever you can find it. If it's the WWE product in specific, then I guess the easy go-to is like WrestleMania 40 main event. Otherwise, I just compile like a handful of the best matches from an in-ring perspective across history. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the situation. If you disagree, then let me know how you'd do it. It's Tyzik Thunder.